Thanks for tuning in to the episode of The Aydin Show, sponsored by our friends at Casa Homes. Enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Aydin Show. And today's guest is my very good friend, Ahmed Raf. Ahmed, how are you, brother?
Ahmed Uruj, how are you, brother?
Very good, alhamdulillah, brother.
We've known each other now a long time.
How long?
Now we're going back. How long have we known each other?
10 years?
At least 10 years, I think.
At least 10 years.
Yeah.
About that long. Yeah.
Time flies, doesn't it, bro?
It does, brother. It does. You're 20 and then you're 36. That makes it 16 years. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, bro.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure to have known you. That's the honest
Same.
truth.
I feel the exact same.
I think we're very similar in mindsets anyway. On a lot of things anyway.
100%.
And we used to love those pastas too that we used to cook. Yeah.
Oh, bro, don't get there, man. I'm trying to give it a bit of a break at the moment.
Good pastas.
Yeah, they are, man. They are. Well, let's get into it, bro. Look, I brought you on the show because we've been having a bit of a discussion about the times that we're living in, the community around us, some of the issues about the community. What's your thoughts? What's your current thoughts about what's happening today in our communities, in our Islamic Muslim communities here in Victoria?
Victoria, the golden question of what's happening to our community. I think it's dying and almost on its limbs, gone, finished. I think it's long overdue for revival for many factors, but we're pretty much struggling as a community easily in today's world.
Well, what do you say that?
A lot of factors obviously come to play here. But I think let's start with the core factor is the Islamic environment that we have here. There's none.
Okay.
That's the problem. Whatever we have of it left is pretty much stale, old. The leaders aren't connecting with the communities anymore. They only connect with those older people, you know what I mean? Because they've been around long enough and that's what they've known.
We're talking 40s, 50s,
60s,
okay.
You know what I mean? But there's nothing for the younger group or even nothing for the 30s. In the 40s, like yourself and myself, I don't feel connected anymore to the community or to the Islamic world anyway here in Melbourne.
Yeah,
I feel like that we here lack a lot of leadership, a lot of knowledge, a lot of that, that influence that it should have on us as Muslims in today's community, but we don't.
Yeah,
I feel like we're just second-class citizens all of a sudden.
Yeah, you raise a lot of good questions. Look, I mean, if we think about it. If we had to name a few people that maybe connect to us, here in our communities, I could probably say 2 or 3 names. One being Bilal Assad, another one Abu Hamza, maybe one more, that speak English really well, that do have a bit of youth around them. Yeah. What's your thoughts about them?
Well, Bilal's been around a long time. I think Bilal has a certain crowd that he can attract, like younger crowd. I think he's good with that crowd. And I'm talking really young here. I'm not talking about like I'm talking about your 12 to 15-year-olds type of crowd.
Okay, so the ones in school because he's a school teacher.
Because he's a school teacher.
Okay.
He's got that ability to connect with them. He has that experience. But Abu Hamzi, once upon a time, he used to connect in a way. But I think Abu Hamzi has obviously times have changed. And Abu Hamzi hasn't progressed with those times. And I don't mean Islamically changed. I mean with the environment, the keeping up with the environment of creating programs.
We live in 2021.
Yeah, and we're struggling. There's no programs. Yep. He doesn't offer any programs at the moment. So problem is he's got youth in his grasp.
Ahmed, the problem is when I was really young, we used to have an issue where we used to bring a lot of imams from overseas that couldn't connect to someone like me or you that were born here. Like it's okay in the 70s and 80s to bring imams from overseas when you've got a lot of immigrants coming in that speak that language as a first, but when it's a second language to you, it doesn't really work.
It doesn't work, and I experience it today.
And look at it today.
Absolutely.
From when we were teenagers till today, what's changed?
Nothing.
Not much.
Absolutely. It's all about, and I'll give you an example. So where I work in the city sometimes, so where I need to pray Jum'ah sometimes, I'll go to certain locations depending on what area I'm in. But Newport is a location that I like to go to.
I've had a look at that. It looks really nice.
Beautiful place.
Put
gorgeous
a pond right in front of where you would pray.
They've got some good programs, but every time there's a khutbah or a Friday khutbah, it's a person from overseas.
Oh, no way.
Always. And it's like, okay, so I'm lucky enough that I've learned to try and understand Arabic over these last number of years. So I'm lucky. I understand a lot of it. Not all of it, but I understand a lot of it. I can make sense of what he's talking about. But there's youth who don't understand nothing.
Yeah. Or don't want, yeah.
And then the translation part is really poor. It's only 5 minutes. It's barely by someone who just, it just mumbles on, just quickly touches key points. And then they're expecting people to understand that and go home and go back to their work or their daily lives as if they're pumped and going, yes, Islam is beautiful. So, no, it's like, it's almost like a habit. They're coming to the mosque purely out of habit, not to come and seek knowledge and learn from it and go back to work feeling better. You almost feel like you're more lost. It's like, understood nothing. What was that?
I agree, brother.
And that's one particular mosque. Obviously, Preston Mosque is another one, which is, Preston Mosque has been big in the community for many years. It's been around a long time as an organisation.
Preston, Meta Heights, the Turkish one there. These are all mosques that have been around. And Coburg is another one that I know very well. Yeah.
Again, the leaders in those areas are not from the community, so they don't understand the community. So how are they going to reach out to the community? How are they going to, influence the community? Make them want to come to the mosque? They can't because they don't understand the language.
Yeah,
and they come from a different culture.
Yeah. Well, how about some of the youth that are there? Do you see a future? Do you see a future coming from them? Like you've obviously been at ISNA for a while. I've seen you around at HIYC a few times.
Yeah.
I've been around Milligurish when I was much younger, not much anymore, but when I was much younger. Do you see do you see some of the younger guys there maybe taking over one day and changing it around?
I hope so, but I don't see it. Yeah, I think unfortunately, similar to our countries in the Middle East, dictators remain dictators. They love that power. They don't love to be moved on. Arabs to a degree have this stubbornness about them. Like you tell them to move on for the sake of good because, you want to see growth and people come in. They don't understand that. It's like, it's an offense. It's like, nah, I'm here to stay. And then their foot is entrenched. And then, division, is created and people start to get turned off and they start to leave these places in droves. And then they think, why is the mosque empty? They're the cause of it, but they're too blind to actually understand. They're the actual cause. It's almost like they've got this arrogance that they're fault-free, they're, untouchable. And yet it's like, subhanAllah, man, like, you're just another human being, mate. Life goes on with or without you, you know what I mean?
We live in an age where we have to be open to criticism. We have to be open to a lot of things.
Unfortunately, none of them are like that.
And exactly. So you've got some of these guys in these roles where they're ready to throw you out as soon as you come across them with a different opinion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The thing is that you want to go and worship Allah, no worries. That's what your intention is, to go become closer to Allah and hopefully build brotherhood, because Islam is brotherhood at the end of the day. Definitely. You want to go you want family around you, you want brothers around you to be influenced in that way. I slip up, you remind me. You slip up, I remind you. That's what brotherhood is, we remind each other. We try and better ourselves, you know what I mean? But some organisations, unfortunately, they're too stuck in, I don't know how to say, their old ways. Like they can't be told what to do. If you see wrong, you try and correct them, or you try to talk about them. They're almost like, you don't like it, piss off.
Yeah,
that's the attitude, and it's
that's
like,
where are you? Pretty
much get lost, and it's like, what? Yeah. Who are you to come and tell people where to go and telling them to get the hell out of this is the house of Allah. Like go, leave. Don't kick people out because you don't agree or think that what their view is of what you're doing is wrong is actually what they're saying is right. All you do is got an arrogant, you've got a pride issue now.
Yeah.
And it's become
there's so much division in Islam, and there is so much. Yeah.
Even here.
We should be more open-minded to having a discussion with different type of Muslims with different type of views instead of just closing the doors at them or pointing the finger at them when we see them walk past. Absolutely.
I think apart from the major sins, because there's major sins that we need to avoid as all Muslims, obviously there are sects you can't help. They will fall into that major sins factor, like shirk, for example. You got to avoid those people because shirk is completely serious. But we're talking minor things.
Shirk is like
we're talking grey areas where there's differences of opinion on certain factors, right?
Yeah.
This person might have a difference of opinion on this particular verse. It's not black and white.
And he's there to seek knowledge as well. He could be there to seek knowledge.
These are the people that some of these people shut them out because they've got this different view, or because and it's not necessarily a wrong view.
Yeah.
It's their perception of it, subhanAllah. It's their understanding of the knowledge. It's just that it doesn't align with their view, and to their view is that's their predecessors, that's their view, that's it doesn't change. Well, I don't believe that it's all accurate for all of Islam. There's elements of it, yes, but there's a lot of elements as well that can be disagreed upon. And
do you reckon there's not enough debates going on? Do you reckon we're not sitting down with one another in a good manner, being open to sharing each other's views and trying to learn from each other and trying to teach each other what's correct and what's wrong?
Well, first you need knowledgeable people to start having a debate with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't have that. I don't think we have knowledgeable people. Not suited to our community anyway.
Okay.
And even if they do, we can't understand them because of the language barrier. So how do you communicate?
You see, they've done really well in America, haven't they?
America's done
You've
well.
got a lot of really big sheikhs and imams and really big names there that are just doing an amazing job.
They are, but also look at Sydney, closer to home.
Okay.
Sydney's developed. It used to be, Sydney was like Melbourne once upon a time, dead. There was no Islam. It was wrong. It was all dead.
Yeah.
The mosques were there, but they were empty, and there was no leadership, no people to give the dawah and people to call people to Islam. Now you've got your people, you've got your Hobblesses, and
Hobblers is a big name there.
You've got some of the other scholars up there that are English speaking, but mashallah, they're very knowledgeable. And I listen to some of these brothers, and mashallah, they're beautiful. It's like, we need that here in Melbourne. We need that investment here.
I think here in Melbourne, it's a little bit more stern and a little bit more harsh when it comes to dawah, brother.
But that comes from the culture of the Arabs.
Yeah.
Stubbornness doesn't leave them. You know what I mean? Like, let's be realistic. I'm not going to be shy, but HIYC, let's be realistic. They need to move on. Abu Ayman Mullah, reward him. He's done well. I'm not going to say he hasn't done well, but there are times you just got to move on because of the fact that help from the sidelines, as it say goes.
Yeah.
You don't need to be the center of the focus that you're it and no one else is it. The same with the my centers, the Abu Hamzas. Help from the sidelines. You're not it anymore. You know what I mean? Allow someone else to progress. He's got sons, mashallah, that are very good.
Yeah.
I'll be straight out honest. He's got one of them who I believe will be a good leader. He can influence the young, but again,
there's none of that room for them to just
no room to move.
For them to take.
No, absolutely. And it's sad because it's like wasted talent going to waste because of people who are stuck in their ways and don't know how to move.
I can relate to that.
That's if you were to go to any organisation, a business organisation, that organisation will eventually collapse and bankrupt.
And they usually do.
So why is our messages not any different or important? You know what I mean? They should be the same. We should constantly have a change of people.
Yes. Because
with change comes new ideas, new innovations, new creations, new programs. Yeah. We're still delivering the correct Islam, but we're delivering it differently to target audiences. We're not doing that within our organisations. We're too busy being stubborn.
Yeah.
My way or the highway.
Yeah.
It's like your way was long. It was an old highway, like Route 66 when it used to be. The main highway now is just a museum of a road where people talk about it. The highway was built and moved on long ago. That's who you are now. You're not influential in the community anymore like you used to be.
Yeah.
You need to help from the sidelines, allow those who can develop, support them to develop them, and get them to start influence in the future.
100%.
And that's there, and Preston, and Newport, and
Milligers.
HIYC, and the Turkish Mosque, Coburg, Meadow Heights, and every other mosque that, Heidelberg, and whatever other mosques that are around the city.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that can be
what's
changed.
What's some of the activities you reckon now that would attract people like me and you? Like what's some of the activities they can do in mosques to bring in more and more people?
I think obviously what I think today, because we live in a world of so much information. I think it's crucial, right? Obviously, I'm not saying Google and everything is accurate or correct, but a lot of people do read or jump onto Google, onto YouTube, and seek information.
But look, it's not that it's not correct. If you can have the view of looking at both sides.
But what I'm trying to say is, so they get this idea in head, this is what it is, right? Or this is what the answer is. The problem is that there's no discussion groups within the masajid to be able to identify and talk about this.
Yeah, agreed.
Because if you talked about it, they almost kick you out, or they start to...
They'll make fun of you.
Or you're stupid, rather than addressing you in a professional, wise way, or with wisdom, and try and guide you to the correct information. That this is how it's done in Islam, this is how it's taught for these reasons. There's none of that. There's no, what they call halakot or madras, when the teacher used to sit down with his students, and these could be random students. They come out of nowhere, the street, and they sit down around in circles and they can ask questions and sit down and learn from this teacher, get an understanding. We don't have that anymore. I think we need to go back to those basics. That's how Islam used to be spread back in the old days. They used to sit down amongst these knowledgeable people and ask and talk to them and discuss.
Yep.
There's conversations. We don't have that today. Now the leaders jump on a mumbar, ba 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 ba. He screams out, and then he's done his job. He feels so good, and then everyone goes home and goes, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, in some cases you look at them and go, yeah, what a hypocrite. Preaches one thing, but does another thing. And it's like, because you witness it, it's like, why is he preaching now? I see him doing the opposite.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, is this what we've come to? Yeah. You know, so obviously there is a strong hadith, you know, about misguided scholars. There's another factor as well that we have to be careful of following misguided scholars, because they can certainly lead nations to hellfire.
Well, I mean, let's look at the times that we live in, Ahmed.
We're in incredible.
Let's look at the last 20 years since 9/11. Let's look at the Middle East. Let's look at the Islamic world as a whole. Where are we?
We're in strife. But I think, subhanAllah, I honestly think that Allah, you know, through His wisdom, He's filtering out the people, I suppose. I call it filtering. You know, those, you know, I do believe we're close to the end times. We're in a time of, you know, nuclear age, warfare, terrorism, so-called terrorism. You know, since obviously 9/11, you know, Islam has been in the news. We're humiliated. We're disgraced.
Yeah.
We don't know how to talk. We don't know how to stick up for ourselves anymore. We're too scared to talk about things like defending ourselves because we're going to be labelled as a terrorist just for saying, no, you've got the right to defend yourself. It's like, oh my God, we're so scared to even. That's how humiliated we are. We've become. And we
can't use words like jihad anymore.
No, we can't use that word jihad anymore.
Yeah.
Even though jihad doesn't mean war.
No.
But the fact that, you know...
Or killing innocent people. It never has and never will.
Yeah, never. In Islam, you can't kill innocent people. It's haram. Yeah. It's forbidden to kill innocent people. But, you know, governments can talk about we have the right to defend. Yeah. Why can't Muslims say we have the right to defend?
Yeah.
But we're labelled as... If you do, you're labelled as a terrorist. But it comes back to our leaders. They're too weak to stand up to that. They're the leaders. They're in that position for a reason. Stand up for us and take ownership.
And we'll stand behind you.
They'll stand behind you. Like, get the funding, go to courts, take them to courts and fight those laws. You know, when they passed our terrorism laws.
I think the biggest problem that they're more worried about is the media.
Why are we fearing the media for? Media is always going to be against us, whether we like it or not.
What was that lady's name? I forgot her name now, but there was a lady on ABC. And she put a post on Anzac Day, lest we forget Palestine and another 2 Muslim countries.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
You're talking about that Muslim girl.
Yeah, the Muslim girl, the African.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. They drove her out of here. She ended up going overseas.
She's in England now. Yeah, because they threatened her with
do you see the
rape
hypocrisy?
and murder, and no one stood behind her.
No one.
She was on ABC defending Muslims.
Yeah, absolutely.
She was talking about what Islam is.
Absolutely.
And she was actually having an argument with one of the panelists that were on there. Mm. And I don't see any other leader here in Victoria or in Australia standing up like she did. And when the time came and she needed some protection, no one was there to protect her.
That's our community. They're too scared.
Yeah.
They're scared for their positions. They're scared for their jobs. They're scared for their titles. In some cases, obviously, you got to remember that some of these organisations do accept government funding.
Some or most?
I believe most, but I can't prove that. But I believe a lot of them do. They do accept government funding for whatever programs.
The biggest Islamic organisation that has the most amount of imams, they say, underneath their wings is ANIC, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, and you know what's funny about ANIC? I don't know who they represent. I'm a Muslim, but I don't know who they represent.
Yeah.
Do you even know who they represent?
Well, there's a Grand Mufti that I have.
But have you had any interactions with him?
No.
How is he a Grand Mufti if I don't even know who he is, his background, never talk to him, see him around my community?
He does a lot of videos with the vaccine. But that's where I think that should be
that's another topic.
It is a different topic. But you don't see him coming out and really saying, hey, this is what Islam is and this is what it represents and this is what we're against. And, you know,
I don't see any of these organisations representing Islam today in our community. They may be beneficial to some things, you know what I mean, as an organisation, whether that's, you know, allocating, you know, funding to the poor or the community. That's mile reward, and that's good. But as a community, I don't feel they represent the community. I don't feel like it's actually useful in some. I've heard stories when people go, for example, to the Islamic basically the Islamic court here, the Islamic Victorian Council, where there's this disputes with marriages and whatnot. I've heard these guys are just as cruel. You might as well go to the Australian courts and get judged there. You're judged more fairer there than they are at those places. And I have some very close people who've been wrongly done by these people.
What, as in taking the woman's side, not allowing the children to see the husbands like that?
Yes,
or?
absolutely, and it's wrong. And I experienced it many years ago, and personally myself. So, and I talk from experience from that. Again, I don't believe they're there to represent us.
Okay, not all of us anyway.
No, not all of us.
What do you think we need to do? Should we detach from some of these mosques? Should we detach from some of these organisations?
No, we need to be more vocal and say that those people, they need to move on.
Okay.
You just can't sit
So stay there and try to make a change. Is that what we should do?
That's what we need. We need change.
Okay.
Change happens from the people.
Yeah.
If the people don't change and they just constantly remain silent and they just go there, it's just a daily habit, no thinking about it. There's no thought process. There's no long-term process.
No long-term process about your kids either.
Exactly. I mean, look, I figure about my son. I've got a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
What have I got for him today? Nothing. I mean, I really am. I'm like, what's he going to learn? Where's he going to learn?
Play a bit of indoor soccer and then what?
Well, he loves his sport. Great. Sport's good. Yes. It keeps him away from the smoking. Definitely. It keeps him away from the drugs. Fantastic.
100%.
But what about his Islam?
Yeah.
Who is he going to look up to? Yeah, I'm his father, but like all kids, not all kids look up to their father, Yeah. I try to be a great father. And alhamdulillah, I believe I am a good father to him and I treat him well and he's looked after well. And yes, we've got a great bond.
They want a father to be a father, a friend, and then they want the imam to be, that religious leader that teaches them something for religion. A father can't obviously teach him everything.
And there's no one really to influence him. There's no one there. Like if I was to say to him, go to any mosque, where's he going to go? Who's he going to talk to? Who can he relate to? Who can he communicate to? Who can he learn from? No one.
I had a few problems like that too when I was younger. I was going into a lot of different mosques and it's hard to just go in and fit in sometimes.
We were unlucky. I'll tell you what, they're luckier today than, I have to admit, than we were. Back when we were growing up, obviously mosques weren't a great number as they are now. And even now, I believe the mosques are just too much for no reason. I think the idea that they just keep calling, donate and build a mosque, and build a mosque, but they barely fill the front line.
Yeah.
Okay, we've built the mosque. What happens then? How do you fund it?
Yeah.
It needs funding every year. You need to...
Well, I went HIYC about 2 months ago, and like you said, they had probably 1 or 2 lines full in that huge place.
Huge. But do you know how much they pay rent?
They're struggling.
Mega dollars.
I think they need to downsize. Definitely,
they have to pay they have to pay Abu Ayman. Of course, he's got to take a living as well. Preston Mosque have got to pay. Abu Hamzi needs to get paid. They all need to get paid. So on top of that, they want, they're too busy saying donate. But what do we get from your donating? Oh, you got a mosque to pray. So alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, I got a mosque to pray. Fair enough. What else am I gaining out of it?
What more can these mosques do for the youth?
They need to create programs. They need to invest in the youth so we get youths who are leaders now. You got to make the youth leaders.
So they need to create leaders. They need to have programs to create leaders.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Whether that's
leadership skills,
whether that's investing in gathering money, for example, and you may invest that in 5 or 6 talented kids that you may select. You may have a program and you sort of interview kids for potential leadership roles, like send them overseas to become imams, to become not scholars, etc. And you do like any job interview, you interview kids and potentials and so forth, and you go, okay, you have a pool of about 5 kids. Invest 200,000, 300,000, send them overseas. The community will pay for that. That's fine. The community will support that. They come back. Okay, out of that 5, you may get 3 of them because 2 might fall off. They might not want to follow with that or progress with it after change. Fair enough. You got to allow for that.
Yeah.
We can't whinge. Not everyone's going to be successful, but you might get 2. That's 2 in the community this year. 5 years again. Invest again and keep going. Like, why can't we? Well, similar. I mean, this is just an idea off the top of my head. It's
great idea.
It's just whether it's worthwhile or not, I don't know. I mean, people have thousands of ideas.
Teach things in mosques that schools don't teach. Not just Islam. Do archery. Teach them about business. Teach them about how to sell. Teach them skills that they need in these days. Teach them interesting things that
That's
that,
another
that,
thing.
that you can
Business, how to run a business. Tax.
No, exactly. Islamically talk about that as well, but also teach them how to run it.
There's a lot we can do. You know what I mean? Provide
computers. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that can
lot.
teach the kids how to do softwares in computers. That's interesting. I know that'll draw a lot of them in.
There's a lot. The programs you just got to be able to identify your area, I suppose, of what you want to do. But there are programs you can do. I mean, boys if you have programs.
If me and you had the money right now, if
Yeah.
we had the millions right now to
Yeah.
open up something for the youth, maybe something for us,
I know what I would do.
What would you do?
I would open up a program very similar to Ali Numan Khan.
Okay.
And his center overseas is almost a school.
Is he on a farm?
No.
No, that's not a farm, is it?
So he's got he built a massive complex,
Okay.
right? And that complex entails many things. A school,
Yeah.
a university, also to learn and teach Quran or research about Quran, hadith and Arabic. And he's got a section where they make videos and everything so they can edit and spread that message to the world.
Okay.
We need something like that here where we can teach these people.
Is that the only one he has?
That's
can't he maybe franchise something like that down here?
No,
or?
so what he does do, I know, is that
He
can sign up, people can sign up to his program, and that they can learn the Arabic language, the Quran Arabic language, that is.
Okay.
Because his background is Arabic language, classical Arabic. He understands the language itself. But what he teaches, he doesn't teach all of the classical Arabic. He teaches the Quran Arabic, purely on the Quran.
Yeah, and he makes a story out of that so that the youth can
He's
relate.
amazing.
He is amazing.
He's amazing. A lot of people obviously don't,
Agree with him. Yeah.
He's I think some of them don't agree because they believe that he doesn't quote a lot of hadith, for example.
Okay.
So they call him a Quranist.
No way.
But I think he has a very good purpose for us to teach us the Quran, because he does quote hadith, but not always. But he does speak from the Quran.
But you need that too, Ahmed, because
do need
you've
that.
got a lot of imams that already do speak about hadiths. Majority of them speak more about hadiths than they do
That's correct.
than the Quran.
He
However,
focuses
a
on
long
the Quran.
time ago it was the other way around.
That's
So
correct.
it's good to hear a different perspective.
Absolutely. I'm fascinated with when his translations come out. I think considering that obviously there's a massive gap between English and Arabic. We're in a Western world
Yeah.
at the moment. We're English-speaking people.
Yeah.
Our languages are second languages now, and they're not even strong. So for someone who doesn't, understand Arabic like I would if I was born in Saudi Arabia or Egypt, for example,
Yeah.
listening to him, I'm on that level. He brings me to that level automatically.
Wow.
That's the level he takes me to, not your basic English like we read an English book, Think and Grow Rich book here, like you've got here on your desk. But he translates it so he takes you to that level where you almost understand it from the Arabic context. And it's deep. It's much deeper than you think. And it's much deeper than when you just read a naturally English translation. And even the translation at times is wrong. And this is what he amazes me.
And he's got an app,
Absolutely.
and he doesn't charge much.
No,
How much is it a year?
$11. And he offers it to anyone,
Wow.
and he offers it for free. And he constantly says so. He offers it for free if you can't afford $11 a month. He says all you have to do is apply, send them an email. You can't afford it, no questions asked,
Yeah.
free pass.
So he's in a position now where he can start doing that.
He does that.
Yeah.
He's got, mashallah, I think he's got a few million subscribers.
There you go. But we still need that.
But that's one element.
We still need that facility here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we still need something like that here.
Absolutely.
If
And we
they've
can
got it in
invest
America, we need to have
We
it.
don't
We
need
need to have
fa-
it either in
Put it
Sydney
this
or
way.
Melbourne.
Well, we don't need farms, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Some people are buying farms. I don't know why they need a farm.
Look, I live in a farm with my family, but I understand as an organisation
Yeah, I'm talking about
having
organisation.
farms and they're there for nothing.
What do they do on the farms?
You know, again, you can put it to good use. You can do
can.
horse riding. You can do archery. You can
yeah,
really influence
you
people.
can.
Build gardens, have olives. I don't know. Do things with it. Make money with it. Show some of the people how to do business by going in there, working hard, and selling some of that crop.
Again, I don't see the use at the moment for a farm. I think that would have been better use. Similar organisations, what I was just talking about, you can invest in those similar organisations.
Yeah.
Or you could.
But if you did have the farm, if you did do what I'm saying, if you did have the archery, if you did have the horse riding, if you had all that sort of stuff in place, that would still.
They utilise it more during school holidays for kids, young kids, the youth. They take them there camping for 2-3 days. That's it.
Camping's all right.
Which is nothing wrong with that. But
Yeah.
Australia's a big place anyway. You can go anywhere for camping.
That's true.
You know
But
what I mean?
there's nothing like having a group of Muslims around you when you do camping. Like we did a couple of camping sessions when I was about 13, 14, and there was some really good memories that I had from being amongst the brothers and praying and waking up for morning prayer at that age, doing a bit of fishing, especially if you can do fishing, you've got like a bit of a trout farm on there. That's fun.
Well, I never experienced that, to be honest, growing up, like camping for around the Muslim group. So, unfortunately, I never done. I done camping with obviously high school, and that was far from praying. My Allah forgive me, but that was far from praying. Yeah, that was many. My Allah forgive me.
But look, inshallah, hopefully something like that can come here sooner than later, where it will draw the youth in. It will create, a better community for all of us.
We do, but we need the right leaders. Just another example, Preston Mosque has obviously been renovated. I don't know if you've seen that or been there lately.
I haven't been there lately.
But they're spending up to $6 million to rebuild the mosque.
Okay. Just to make it look good.
Just to make it look good.
Okay.
Do we need that? No. I don't think that's a good investment. The intent is to put a cafe, more room. They sell...
So more things to build revenue for the mosque.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but the people are still disconnected. That's the problem. They spend too much, they spend monies on how to make the mosque look great, but they're empty.
Yeah. Can you tell me, do you know any Muslim that can lead us here in Australia, anyone that you think that maybe give us some hope for the future?
Like I said, I have to admit, Mala Reward, like Abu Hamza he's got some nice kids. And he's got one there that I believe will be a good leader.
What's his name?
It's Sheikh Taqi-Din.
Never heard of him.
He's
I've never
beautiful. He's young. He's only in his 20s, early 20s.
I think I know.
Beautiful brother. Very beautiful attitude, character.
Is he always on Facebook reciting hadiths?
He does recite some stories on Facebook. Shares some stories, Islamic stories, 5-minute stories, whatever. But yeah, he has great potential. He's young still, so. He's got quite a few, inshallah, he's got quite a few years ahead of him. But he's one that I feel like, from that area there, that I feel like should be in the position of leadership. And Abu Hamza needs to just step aside and support him and let him go. Yeah. Let him run his own races there, and say.
How about One Path in Sydney? Do you know much about them? We live here in Victoria.
Well, I don't know too much. Obviously, there's that brother. I know the brother who runs it, and then obviously they do get a lot of good guests on there. I think One Path is a very good concept, to be honest.
I like it.
I do like the concept. It just needs a lot of funding, but there's nothing wrong with that. I think maybe having similar subscriptions like, Ali Newman Khan, where you can get affordable subscriptions, $10, $8 a month, is better than nothing, you know what I mean? It may generate some revenue. They may continue creating, content and media and programs and stuff. So I think Media One Path is actually very good. I do watch it often.
Yeah.
And I've actually seen the brother who actually... who actually posted that he's actually got the COVID as well. May Allah give him shifa.
May Allah protect all of our Muslim brothers and sisters and non-Muslim brothers and sisters that have got the COVID or any disease that they're dealing with currently.
Yeah. So, but that's a good organisation. I think we need something similar here. I know they tried to do it here around my centre, My Voice, and
they did
My TV. I think it was.
I was there when so Abu Hamza invited me when they were at the early stages of creating it.
But again, you've got one person trying to control everything.
Yeah,
it's wrong.
I thought it would have been someone else than Abu Hamza going on. However, look, I mean, he's a very intelligent man. He had Bilal Assad come on a few times.
Yeah.
He shared his story, his emotional story, what happened to him overseas, and a couple of other things that they did on there. But you do need someone that's obviously got the time, can put the effort in, and love what he does. With that,
the key to any organisation is delegation. When you look at a CEO, for example, he's only there for what reason? To delegate. That's it. He knows how to delegate. He knows how to use you for your skills, that person for his skills, that person for his skills, and then he creates his organisation that runs smoothly. He gets all the credit, but he doesn't do any of the work.
Yeah.
He just knows how to delegate. Unfortunately, our organisations are not like that. They want to control and micromanage every aspect of the organisation, and that itself destroys it. You lose a lot of good brothers like that because it's almost like micromanaging persons. You will not be able to work for anyone who's a micromanager. It's too intense. They're constantly on your shoulder. You can't breathe. You want to express yourself. You can't express yourself. You just have to shut up and work. It doesn't work like that with these organisations. So these organisations need to...
Those organisations sounds like the companies that were run during the industrial age.
Pretty much.
They're extinct now.
Like I said, I relate them to dictators in our countries. They just don't know how to move on.
All right. Ahmed, thank you so much for
Pleasure.
coming on, bro. Is there anything else you want to say before we go?
No, I think thanks for having me on. This is my first time. Thank you.
You've done very well.
Yeah, it's alhamdulillah. I talk a bit sometimes, but yeah.
But we love it, brother. That's why you're here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Not a problem. Yeah. Thank you for coming, guys. Don't forget to press the like button. Take care till next time.